Hey, welcome into the live today, everyone. We are going to dive into the metaverse. There has been another event that has happened in the universe, and that is CES has really started to shake up things. There are some big players starting to talk the talk around metaverse. The question will be, what tokens, what projects in the crypto sphere are going to benefit from what we're seeing happening in CES this week? My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back to TechPath. Let's dive into the live stream today. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, which is Over. If you guys have not, looked at Over, you should take a look at them. Just a quick review of their website. They are one of those VR reality aspects of the virtual component, whether it's from gaming aspects, retail. We'll start to see Over kind of with this geolocation component play into this. Over is also, we've talked about them on the show before because they've been in one of my portfolios. Matter of fact, I had them in one of my high-risk portfolios. They did amazing for me and ended up being a project that has started to evolve and become a lot more interesting. Some things they have been doing is they've got this first monthly burn that they just did. It's complete. That happened. They also had some scenarios happen right here where they're integrating their new 3D assets from your smartphone. So there's a lot of news coming in from Over. Additionally, they have been going over and burning some tokens, which is right here where they're going out and doing a big giveaway to a handful of the community. So there's going to be some big things happening with them. If you've not had a chance to maybe check out our video on our high-risk portfolio, some of the projects that have kind of performed both in the metaverse, but also in gaming. Over was one of those. And again, we want to thank them for sponsoring in today. Check that site out and that project. If you want to just go to ovrai.ai, you'll be able to jump in and learn a little bit more about it. I recommend taking a look at the team. Also look at the white paper because it's an interesting read and one to watch. Let's get into it today. And really the big news is NVIDIA at CES in Las Vegas. And if you look at what's happening right now, NVIDIA makes its metaverse building software free for individual creators. I don't know if this is something like, I don't want to necessarily call it like an Unreal Engine, but essentially I think what they're trying to do is provide a tool for creators to start to develop within the metaverse and create, components, assets, players, games, all those kind of things, much like what Sandbox has done with Voxel in being able to create your own little element within Sandbox. So the tech giant also added new features and partners to its Omniverse, which is its new real tagline here, a 3D design collaboration and virtual world simulation platform. My question is going to be, as we start to see all of this play into the metaverse and also just in terms of the Omniverse, technology, what this tells me, I guess in short, is that we are seeing hardware become reality, and it in a much faster state. If you think about this, where Meta, in reality, maybe Facebook was actually a little bit behind this time, because for NVIDIA to be able to drop this, that means that they were working on this probably in 2020, maybe even in 2019. So the likelihood is this ramp up has really got a perfect timing that launched Metaverse topical aspects in October. The plug-in of how all this is going to connect to crypto and also blockchain and play to earn is going to be the question mark. I think that's going to be the big elephant in the room that everybody has to address. I want to kind of run down just some of the elements that they featured. This was, of course, their keynote. I would just go to YouTube, search NVIDIA at CES. This is from the Engadget site. But I wanted to play what they were doing with the automotive component. Let me mute that. And this is on a 2x. But you can kind of see essentially what they were talking about is extending the automobile into the metaverse. So if you are remember, NVIDIA is very tied into electric vehicles. We cover electric vehicles a lot on this channel as well, even though we haven't covered that in a ton in the past because of all of the movement in crypto. But the point is that NVIDIA's chip architecture and the connection into the Omniverse could start to play into having the vehicles of the future start to become part of this. Now, there's a lot going on when you look at the hardware, because one of the things that we've been talking about for quite some time is, what is the metaverse going to be? Is it going to be the Oculus? Is it going to be a headset? Or is it going to be more of an environmental aspect in our lives that we deal with today. You know, I'm sitting here with maybe an iPad that's giving me a feedback, my laptop, the TVs here in the studio, all metaverse potential, and the capability of where Samsung is going with this and tying into NFT, secure, and being able to just interface a lot of what's happening in the blockchain, all being able to transition to what will mostly likely be screens. That's going to be, I think, most commonly and the easiest to be able to go into mainstream versus saying a headset or an Oculus. Much like if you think about what happened with Google Glass and kind of the pushback we had in society, that I think is where we will be dealing with that for quite some time. I want to jump to this PlayStation VR 2 announced, bringing eye tracking and Horizon's Alloy to the living room. And again, this brings it right back to the point I'm talking about, is that we'll see more and more tie-in to the living room and what we're going to be looking at in terms of gameplay, how gameplay will be fueled, and then what games are going to be in there for blockchain and play to earn, how all that might be tied in. Now, the question will be, who of the blockchain metaverse crowd are going to plug into this component of the Omniverse and or other elements within metaverse hardware and software, whether you think about what's happening over at Facebook and Meta, or something that's happening over at NVIDIA and Sony. All of that is essentially going to be tying into this. And here's a good point right here. Blockchain and metaverse make inroads at Consumer Electronics Show. This is what I was talking about earlier, is Samsung's going to feature its developments in its metaverse tech. Several other companies showcasing blockchain NFT integrations. But the big one here, again, innovation of mobility, Sony's Vision S, blockchain and metaverse non-fungible technology set to make its move into the hardware. This is going to come in on LG, Samsung, Amazon, and the NVIDIA and Sony projects that were really released here. So quite a bit happening. You know, if you think about where CES was just a year ago and what was being talked about at that time. Sure, CPU, obviously it was during, you know, the pandemic, and we had a little bit different cycle of news, but we were nowhere near the beginning of where Metaverse was being discussed. Definitely not really moving into the play to earn and blockchain gaming, and many of the Metaverse components that can be utilized that we've talked about on this show, and that's everything from medical, financial, etc. I want to jump to this tweet right here to talk about how medical could potentially be tuned into this. Let me jump to the full screen of this so you guys can kind of get the full view of it. But this is essentially how this potentially could be utilized. And again, blockchain, patient data, if you understand how medical AR and all of that works today, there's a whole movement around moving data from one hospital to another, data from one area or specialist to another. All of that could be solved through blockchain. And again, now you have the use case from a VR aspect for just simple, whether it's simple study or research, or even in the essence of virtual visits, which has been a big part of how the medical industry has addressed what's happening with the market right now as we continue to see that kind of blow up. The other thing that I wanted to kind of show here was the Sony video. And just let me kind of show you a little bit here on, I'm going to scrub through this, where they are showing, yeah, here we go, where we get into really kind of the evolution of, again, this is Unreal Engine, and it really kind of showcases, but the point is that I'm making here is that there is now another big cat in the room moving into the metaverse, and that is Sony. You've got NVIDIA. The likelihood is we'll see many more of the tech giants starting to play in this. And we've talked about this many times, and this concerns me still to a certain extent with blockchain, because remember, blockchain is, I feel like it's a ragtag, you know, I feel like it's the, you know, it's the rebellion. You know, if you follow Star Wars, it's the rebellion. It's a ragtag group of rebels that have really kind of innovated, been able to pull it off. In the end, they win. But the point is that the big guys are going to be playing very, very big hardball as we go into this market. And I think we will continue to see. Now, the question, as I said, is who is going to end up plugging in and partnering with these behemoths. Here's a good example. Qualcomm working with Microsoft on custom chips for next-gen AR glasses. Again, this will all play into whether it's sandbox, we get into Axie Infinity, we get into other aspects around this. And you're asking, what tokens, Paul, are we going to be looking at that could benefit from all of this movement early on? Remember, this is very early in the year of 2022. The likelihood of us rolling out and seeing some real significant movement here, I think, partnership-wise, is real. Someone is going to partner with Qualcomm and Microsoft for a mobile play-to-earn that is essentially going to go into these next gens, whether we see augmented glasses that become, kind of an add-on for gameplay in mobile devices, things of that nature. Play-to-earn, I think, will be the natural evolution. So we're going to talk about some of those today. Just as a reminder, we are streaming live over on Twitch today as well. So if you guys are on Twitch, make sure and go over and follow the channel over there. Just search Paul Barron Network. You'll find us over in the crypto space. Search crypto. You'll see us next to BitBoy or some of those guys that are going into Twitch. So make sure and subscribe over there or become a follower and a fan. It helps us be able to get the Twitch audience out there because we're really starting to move a lot more into more content around game, play to earn, as well as blockchain strategies. We've got two studios here, just so you guys understand. Here at PBN or Rever Networks, we have quite a team here that helps do the research, puts all of what you see here in the live shows, as well as launching our second studio. We already have a podcast studio, our sound engineer, all that's happening in the space right here as we speak. So we're trying to tie in and give you guys even more cool content that really kind of addresses what's happening in innovative technology, especially when it comes to crypto and play to earn. Make sure and hit your questions in the chat. I want to get to those definitely, and make sure and like the video. It's a good thing that helps us out. I want to jump over to this piece here on Seeking Alpha, talking about Facebook and parent Meta halts its project to build its own VR AR. This again starts to make me think, will we see less of this kind of hardware in the early stages? Because I think over time this kind of hardware will come, but in the early stages I think it is going to be the Samsung TVs, the screens that we are seeing today that will become kind of our interface for the metaverse and all of this play to earn. So I do see this as being a big factor, but one of the things I wanted to feature here was, look how many employees had been working on this project, 300 people, and for 4 years, according to this report. This is massive. So then you've got, on Monday, Meta was called out among top 2022 internet picks by Manas and Crespi. And again, this is all because of their restructure and their strategy focus moving into the metaverse. Hence what you're seeing with NVIDIA, Sony, all these gameplay, and eventually I think we'll see the AAA games move into this. Listen, 2022 is going to be one of the most exciting times, I think, in blockchain investment, blockchain gaming that we have seen yet. You think 21 was fun and interesting? Hold on, because it's going to get really interesting, I think, as we go. Now, and that is something that people are going to ask, I think a lot, is as we see traditional, I won't say traditional altcoins and then the blue chips slow, most likely toward the middle of the year, we'll see a little bit of pullback on traditional crypto just because of the cycle. And I think that's where metaverse, gaming, all those types of projects will start to pick up. And also the projects that are starting to solve real world case problems like medical, financial, banking, all those kind of things, DeFi, etc. All of that is going to continue. We'll guide you through this as we get out here. But I want to talk about this next article right here. Meta platform is set to break out and Metaverse is the cherry on top. And again, everybody's talking about Meta, and when I say Meta, meaning Facebook, of where their potential is. And they really are the big guy in the room. Now, you think about NVIDIA, that's great that their technology is there and the potential is there for how they're trying to ramp up. And the likelihood is, can they become, somewhat of a cult engine for the metaverse creators? Sure, they could be, having the same kind of effect that Unreal Engine has on the real high-end designers and developers, but for the common person. But the real elephant in the room is Facebook, because of the fact that they have the masses when it comes to direct communication. They are essentially the gateway. Now, will there be some winners that kind of recreate and become the new Zynga of what's going to happen in the metaverse? There's definitely players out there that could potentially go in this direction. We talk about them here all the time. But with Meta really kind of moving in that direction, I just think this continues to show what the potential is for the market. I want to jump over here to this article right here that talked about, let's go to the headline right here. Developers share record VR players and sales numbers across Christmas data points. This is interesting because it really gets into, and let me zoom up on this, indicated Christmas 2020 was a big moment for the VR industry, and I still believe that we're going to see continued VR growth. The question is just going to be what headsets, what physical nature and elements will we see. Now, this surprises some people, but if you look at this, Meta is not releasing any sales numbers, but as you look at some of these projects and some of the developers that are talking about that, the actual send shivers, this guy was send shivers down my spine when you look at Facebook doesn't get to own it all from a metaverse standpoint. Oculus being #1, Facebook. TikTok, not Facebook, YouTube, then you've got Snap and Instagram right there. So definitely Facebook coming into its own. And then you've got, wanted to add some Rec Room numbers to all the VR excitement. We've seen over 1 million VR players log into Rec Room since Christmas Day. Took us about 60 hours to hit that number. That's, again, pretty dynamic as we continue to see that growth. Then you see this, Christmas sales spikes insane. Many new people jumped into VR, and this is sales have been up unprecedented. And this is, of course, for Hand Physics Lab, another company that's producing VR headgear, and you kind of see just the numbers kind of jumping off. Here's another one, Happy Oculus Quest Day 2. For reference, this was our biggest sales day ever, 30% bigger with better than half still to come. And this was, again, big numbers. So why is this important? The question here, I believe, is that as we see this, the point is there's so many lines in the water. There's a lot of ways that this can go. NVIDIA, Sony, Samsung, consumer electronics in general are going to go one way. Play to earn, remember, is the platform and the games that are coming out on that. And I've talked about this before, is we will see the cream rise to the top. I believe toward the end of this year, the real games that are going to make it, like a Sandbox, like the Gala projects, like what we'll see at things like Star Atlas or maybe Alluvium, well, for sure Alluvium, all of those things. Just as a reminder, Alluvium had a big little mishap here with SILV, just a warning as an alert. Be on the lookout if you are thinking about buying SILV for doing doing a land acquisition. Just be aware of that there is an issue. Go research it, take a look at it, because it's important to what's happened out there. I won't get into it because it's a lot of, we'll get into the weeds very quickly. Here are some of the projects that I think are going to start to connect. Seek VR, I've had them before in my portfolio. They're an edgy retail VR component that could make a play into this. They were founded in May 2015, so they've been ahead of this for quite some time. They do have tech and a deep space engineer involved in this, so they're definitely a potential here. And the other thing that's really cool about Seek is that they've got some big boys behind them in terms of money. And then, you know, our sponsor, Over, this is another one I still think is going to be a player in this space. And how will they plug in is going to be the question. The other ones I think that will really start to jump in here, of course, is Render. And Render, I think, is one of the projects that is highly undervalued right now as to what it's going to be and what that might be, especially with NVIDIA releasing the Omniverse and the potential of integration in that software. Question would be is, will we see someone like an NVIDIA, I don't know, do they soak up or maybe buy a Render or start to look at that tech and maybe reconsider how that might actually be done? Because all of that is going to be graphic intensive, and it's very tied to these graphic cards that have to generate all of this stuff into the metaverse at point. Remember, we're repainting what is going to happen in the next decade right now. It's like almost rebuilding all the websites of the internet in the next 2 years. Think about how the internet has just exploded, the billions of websites that are available to us. So decentralized rendering engine raised $30 million as metaverse graphics go big. I think this is just still a no-brainer. Multicoin Capital, big boys behind it, Alameda, and of course Solana Foundation are all backing Render. So this is another big one. I'm going to show the charts on these. The other one I think that really is a no-brainer is Alluvium, and we've talked about this. We've got another video dropping on this one. I think this might be the game of the year, and I do believe if they can get everything together. Remember, this is still a young team but yet at the same time, they've been able to put together some pretty hefty talent, and they're starting to acquire some key people. They just hired their VP of marketing who came over from the gaming industry. These are very key hires that are going to help them plug into the gaming industry. So be cautious and watch how these hires, because I think that's the next level, is the hires that are going to happen at the C level. We'll call it the C level, even though most of these are decentralized, but the leadership level of most of these projects, whoever has those kinds of connections, and it's going to come in marketing, it's going to come in media, analytics, and then because developers and gameplay and all of that is the commodity in the room, it's a finite sphere. All of that has to have the additional plush connection that you need to the rest of the industry, and that's where all these key people will come in. And then, of course, none other than Sandbox. I mean, you just have to, come on. These guys are going to just kill it. I think this is the one that I would be on the watch for to really kind of jump into what we will see in terms of big partnerships. Now, could Sandbox, could Gala, could a Star Atlas or Alluvium, could we see the VR crew start to package in deals, start to work in deals through brands, start to work in collaborations, things of that nature that could eventually end up in a lot of this integration, and might be what NVIDIA, Sony, and etc., Microsoft included, are going to be doing, is being in that middle where AAA gaming and blockchain play to earn start to merge into the middle, and we see that meld occur. Because we've talked about this before. How are those things going to happen? Going from old Web 2 stacks to Web 3 is a real problem. It's a real challenge that we are going to be dealing with. So anyway, just as a reminder, hit your comments in the side chat. There's a lot coming in, but I just want to run through the charts with you real quick because I know you guys are looking at where things could fly out. Alluvium had a little bit of a mishap that has occurred, and with SILV, and this, we have not recasted this, because remember, when we do sentiment data, we are not expecting something like this. You have to watch out for it. These are the flyers that come out of it. Those are not things that sentiment can pick up. And with that being the case, we'll rechart this one and see if this is going to drive Alluvium on a downward trend on what has happened with SILV, because they did have, basically a hack. They had an exploit that occurred on SILV where it liquidated the account, but Alluvium has jumped in and said, hey, we're going to take care of it. This is not a big deal. I think they'll end up being the hero here, and this will just correct the project. The other one, of course, we've talked about is Render. And Render, we've had a couple of times here. We've had this as a buy back here, all the way back here in November, 1st of November, when Render was essentially trading at $1. And you had this nice move up to this high, which is really where you could have taken some profits at the $8 mark. And then really anywhere in the middle, which we've often said around the $3.50 to $4 mark is kind of the new low. And we may be seeing that right here. So Render could be opening up for a potential purchase. If I was looking, and I am, looking to add some more Render value, I might be looking in this zone right here in the, as it's trading at 434. I anticipate we're going to continue to see this one slide a little bit. We are going to pull a new data point on this in terms of sentiment. I want to see how this one starts to get, chart out in towards late January to see if we start to see a little bit of slide there, because there are some things happening with Render. We're getting some data and some information that may give us some indicators around the end of January. So be on the lookout for Render. The other one is Sand. Sand, of course, has been sideways, and we've talked about this before. It is a little bit of a sideways action. It's not one that I recommend. If I was going out and buying today, would I buy at the $5 price that it's at? I would probably hold back and see and wait for a dip, and then wait for those opportunities where Sandbox is going to be doing some releases. Axie, same scenario. Axie, of course, is in a little different zoom. Let me zoom in on this one, because it is having a little bit of a drop right now on where Axie is holding. If you look at what's happened just in the last day or so, 93, and right there to the 82. This is something that we were talking about on our Axie reveal video not too long ago, is get ready for a potential opportunity. And where is that opportunity going to land? Is it going to land down to 70, or are we going to see it all the way back down to 60? That'll be the question mark. But again, Axie is the long-term play. This is one of those projects that I do believe 3Xs to 5Xs before the end of 2022, Axie Infinity. Last one is Chromia, and this is another one that I really like. It's just one of those projects that we've had a couple of videos on this one. This one had this little trough right here that we are registering in right now. We did anticipate this. The question is, how long will it hold before we see a little bit of upward movement on this one? This one right now is maybe an opportunity to get it right here at the bottom at around 76 cents. And if so, it would, if I was looking at it and I do own Chromia, I would probably buy a little bit more right here because I did miss this acquisition point right here and here. So there's some opportunities, I think, here with Chromia and what it means to, because it's still kind of an undiscovered project and what they're doing. So just watch the video, check the video out. We dropped a Chromia video just a little bit ago. Make sure and check that one out. I think you guys are going to like it. It's definitely going that. Let's get into the questions to try to cover today and answer any things. And I know everybody's asking about Bitcoin. Are we starting to see some movement in this? We have always said over the last couple of months, actually last month, I think the last time we had Evan Aldo on, we probably got to get him back in here, is we had that $43,000 mark. That was our one, I think it was 43.4. I'll pull up the Bitcoin chart. But 43.4, I believe, was where we were concerned that if we start to see that, and let me pull up CoinMarketCap just real quick on where that's holding. And Bitcoin's chart right there. Let's take a quick look because I know everybody's looking at this right here as it's falling off. Let's look at that 7-day, and we're right there at the 44.3. So it's getting near the point that we were concerned about, which was the 43. I think it's 43.7. I'll confirm that for you guys, but 43.7. This is the thing that I am concerned about with Bitcoin, is the fact that we will continue to see a little bit of this movement in and out. January is not one of those immediate jumps. So the likelihood, could we be looking at some longs being liquidated? There's some things I think we'll probably start to see and we'll start to recover. I will pull a sentiment data for you and we'll pop a Bitcoin video out this week to give you some chart analysis on this to go look at it. But if I was looking at a profit taking, if you were purchasing Bitcoin back in early year and you said, all right, listen, I'm getting a little shaky on Bitcoin, I want to redeploy that capital, the 43.7 is the point for me. Now, there are many people out there talking about the $41,000 mark as being the new bear market and 40K being the bear market of where it would be going. If we do see Bitcoin fall under $40,000, we may have entered it. Bitcoin may have entered the final cycle. I don't necessarily believe that that is the case. So we're going to get back to the Metaverse topics and cover those as well, but we will get on the Bitcoin component. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about this. This is a good one from Dashiell. How do you see the end of the Bitcoin cycle affecting gameplay and play-to-earn tokens? I don't believe, now it will have an initial effect, but I do not believe because of play-to-earn, the rollout of these projects, they have no real bearing on what's happening in the cryptocurrency market from a Bitcoin standpoint. So I don't necessarily see that it would be a long-term effect. I think it will be a short-term effect for liquidity purposes and then redeployment of capital and people who have taken profits and are looking to continue to the game. Because you have two options in bear markets. DeFi, you know, obviously you can go bot trading, or you can start to look at these new potential wonderlands, and that is Metaverse, gaming, etc., play to earn. So I don't anticipate that it's going to be there. What price do you see Gala hitting this year? Gala, I'm still believing that it's a little bit overpriced right now, so I don't necessarily see, and again, and we've done the Gala analysis before, it is mostly priced in. It's not a token that I'm buying right now. I'm waiting for dips. So if Gala were to come in and correct in a big way, maybe a 30 to 40% correction on Gala, and potentially Sandbox, we could see that happen there with Sandbox. Both of those at that point would be a buy. However, as we see the growth of these projects and some rollout in gameplay, could we see Gala do a 2x? If I'm in, this is what I do, you know, if we are investing, right now we're not investing in these top dogs right now. We did that last fall when they were rolling out and we made those gains. Hopefully you were on the channel at that time and you got a chance to make some money with us. But the point being is that I think those are a little bit reserved. I would go after the underlying tokens and the games that are just emerging. So watch our emerging projects, our altcoin sentiment videos, and then all of our high risk and moderate risk portfolios. Those are the ones to watch. Okay, Samsung is testing the waters. Find out quickly if the NFT community would jump on board. I think that's a good point, and it's the easiest link to mainstream household. That's a really good point, David, is that you're right. I think there will be some scenarios there to see. If Samsung tests the waters here and they see something, even if it's just a blip on the interest curve, it could direct. Remember, that's how Samsung and many of the set and console manufacturers started putting in Netflix, Apple TV, all those kind of devices. The next layer is now your TV is going to have your game consoles in it. Xbox will be integrated in, Sony, PlayStation, etc. All that will be integrated into the TV. It's going to be one device. And I think that is the evolution, much like what we'll see in crypto. So good point there. Steele, what is your prediction for my neighbor Alice? I like this one. This one is on fly right now. We called this a little earlier in the week and right before its pop, and mainly because of its connection with Chromia, what's happening over there. Be on the lookout for my neighbor Alice. It is a good project, and it's been underperforming. It's one of those that I think is going to pop. What do you think about Block at current times? Again, we referenced this in a video that we did this week. Block is got pushed out of the top 10, is now in the top 20 in our overall Metaverse ranking in terms of sentiment, and it was sliding. So my concern is, does it not have enough engine with the tie-in to the influencers as much as it has? I'm surprised this one is not getting a little bit more of that meme juice that it needs to kind of create that price action in the space. So a big one. Thanks for the super chat, Rory. If we buy Metaverse tokens today and hold them for, let's say, 3 to 4 years, are we guaranteed to lose 90% of the value, or do you expect large returns? I think you're going to be in Bitcoin waters. If you had bought Bitcoin in 2013, where are you today? I think that's where Metaverse is today. We have some poll results in too. Let me kind of pull those up just to kind of jump in on these, because I know the guys like to see these polls come in. And let's look here. All right. Are you buying the dip? Let's go take a look. Yep, 70% of you are. 22% said, nope, I'm not buying the dip. And then some people are selling some stuff, 135 votes. So that's a good one. 70%, good for you guys. Buying the dip. I like it. BFD. What do you think about, let's see, go Bitcoin sentiment? Yes, Metacrawler, we are going to get that video out for you this week. We will pull a Bitcoin sentiment. Obviously, we have to. We have to address the big boy in the room. He's struggling a little bit, and some kids are on the playground pushing him around. So we got to see that. What do you think? Yeah, we talked about Block. Wilder World, Metaverse, it's been on our list before. In fact, it was on our list for a while and then had dropped off of our list because of just so many projects that were coming out. So thanks, Nelio. Good stuff. So you guys have, as you guys know, the number one thing you can do here, if you are not, and maybe you're new to this channel and you're like, man, what is this guy talking about? This is just, it's over my head. Slow it down a bit, back up, listen to some of our videos on the Metaverse in general. Go back into October and into September. You'll understand where the growth potentials are. There's a lot of tokens and projects that are tied directly to that. Along with that, play to earn gaming. So if you're new to crypto, I want you to kind of put an envelope around your crypto portfolio. This is what I've done. You look at your blue chips, whether you're an Ethereum guy or you're a Bitcoin girl, doesn't matter. Those are your blue chips. Then you're going to look at your layer ones. You got to win a handful. You can't own them all. My bag is Ethereum, Avalanche, and Sol. I like Matic, got a big one there too. Then you roll into your top tier layer twos and or other projects that are starting to roll in. That's kind of the step 3. And then if you're risky and you want to look at big gains, then you start watching Metaverse and play to earn games. These are the Bitcoin and Ethereum in 2013, 2017. That's the kind of potential games that you can see if you owned Bitcoin at 150 bucks. And it's sitting at, $42,000 right now. So $43,000 right now. So That's the kind of gains I think we will see in 5 years in the metaverse. This is an evolution. Web 3.0 is going to happen, and I do not believe that we'll see any slowdown in this. Obviously, with projects like NVIDIA, Sony, Microsoft, and all of the big boys, including Meta. These guys aren't betting on this for fun. This is the direction. They are now here at the game. A lot of what's happening in blockchain is coming. So be on the lookout out there. If you're listening in over on the podcast right now, thanks so much for listening in. But this is a place where you're going to catch it all. The YouTube channel, and you've got to subscribe and make sure and hit the bell so you get notifications of live streams just like this. Again, Diamond Circle, we are nearing the 300,000 mark. Make sure and share this channel because that's the next big giveaway that we'll be doing in terms of a digital asset. We do have some NFTs that we have been gifted from some of our partners, and we're going to translate those NFTs out to you guys. So you have to be part of the Diamond Circle. Click the link below. You want to hit me up, it's out on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.